So you figuring out what your tells are, like how is your soul talking to you? How do you receive that message is going to be important. And I'm not going to cover a lot of that because there are so many episodes that you can go back and get around clairsentient and clairvoyant and all of that. So in this one, I want to talk about using those skills to define your life, like to have definition to it. Well, hello there. Welcome to Intuition, Your Success Compass. Today, we're going to talk about intuitive decision making, most especially in difficult times, but across the board. Like, how can intuition help you make decisions, trust your decisions, and to actually lead a life that has less conflict within, never mind outside of you? So I have used my intuitive abilities since I was very young, but I didn't know about them. I didn't know about them until I was in my 30s and now mid 50s. So for over 22, 3 years, there's been this gradual growing of my intuitive abilities, which is why I bring this podcast to you, because I don't want you to have to figure it out on your own. But what I have found to be the most supportive for me is having that trust in my decision making, because a lot of the times we can be led by people pleasing. We can be led by the influence of others, right? And whether they're intending to or not. We can be led into situations that don't align with who we are because of a feeling of wanting to belong or to get along. And while the intuitive ability is best used in decision making when combined with your cognition and your logical mind and your rational space, having it on board, literally being able to trust your gut and to make decisions very quickly without a feeling of guilt. Previous episode, did you see that one? Go back and check it out. Without a feeling of, oh, I just don't know what to do. Because a lot of the times that's what locks us up, right? Is the feeling that we're going to make a wrong decision or we are going to regret the decision that we have made. And when you have your connection to your own intuition and when you trust that, you don't worry about that as much because with it comes a faith and a belief in self that allows you to access that soul mind, your wisdom, your knowing, your sage, your intelligence, whatever you call that part of you that is actually your right brain, but also your soul knowing that everything's okay. Everything is okay. We may not like the situation we're going through. You may not like the person you're sitting next to, but everything is okay. And there's a gift, opportunity, learning, possibility in every moment. And this isn't to say that you're walking around once your intuition is firmly in place, knowing everything. You're not. You're going to keep growing. It's going to keep expanding. Things show up for me all the time that I do use the WTF expression because I'm not sure, what is that? Why do I know that now? I have no proof of this, but what I do have is a track record. And learning to trust your track record is how you show up in future decisions. And you don't get tied up in the opinion of others, even those that you dearly adore and love. Many times people have said, you should do this, or this is where I think you should go. And it comes from a very loving place that this is being suggested. But if it doesn't land in my intuitive knowing as something that would be good for me, or it doesn't have a little bit of a tinge of excitement for me, it's not happening because I have to believe within my intuition, within my rational mind, my cognition, all of that. They all have to align or I am not making a decision. That came through practice. And I'm going to lay out some of the tools here for you so that you can begin to do that for yourself so you aren't vacillating or doubting yourself, or worse, beating yourself up because you knew the answer, the decision that was best for you, and you ignored it, because we're going to talk about that as well. Okay, so what is intuition? Intuition is the voice of your soul. It is the voice that we all have. Every one of you are intuitively wired. It is your first sense, which used to be the name of this podcast. And it's the understanding and the compilation of all of the experiences that you've had in previous lifetimes. And now you come into this physical lifetime to merge it with who you are today. And intuition is its own language, and it's something that each of us has to determine for ourselves. There are very few hard and fast rules I have when I'm working with someone about developing intuition, because we are all wired differently and our brains have different experiences. And there's so much that we have gone through and that we've compiled data around, that to say to someone, well, you must read this way or you must receive energy in this way, it's short-sighted. And I have had many teachers along the lines when I took classes or tried to find mentors who would say to me, no, Vicki, you have to do it this way. And thankfully, I'm stubborn. And I would say, I just don't feel like that's true. I feel like there's stuff that we probably do similarly, but how can I possibly read or perceive energy the way you do when I have my own background and I have my own understanding and I have my own limitations that maybe I don't know about them yet. Maybe I haven't worked through them. So I want you to hear that however you receive, perceive, read, channel, understand energy, you are doing it brilliantly. You're doing it brilliantly. Never throw your energy at someone, and never believe it's okay to read without permission. That's basically, those are my two hard and fast, don't do that. Especially if I'm working with you to develop intuition, you must have integrity. But your intuition, it differs from your logic and your rationality, just like everybody's does, but yours does it in your own unique way. And as soon as you figure that out, like you might be someone who gets pictures inside your mind's eye, and that's how you understand what's going on in the world around you. You may actually hear the auditory sounds. You may get a tightening up of your solar plexus that lets you know this situation is not good and I need to beat feet, or I need to offer some suggestions about how to change it. You may be someone who gets very warm in the presence of untruths, someone lying or BSing you. Okay. So you figuring out what your tells are, like how is your soul talking to you? How do you receive that message is going to be important. And I'm not going to cover a lot of that because there are so many episodes that you can go back and get around clairsentient and clairvoyant and all of that. So in this one, I want to talk about using those skills to define your life, like to have definition to it, because it is not okay to only be in your intuitive voice. You have to combine it with your human gift and with being logical and left-brained. So your intuitive center, this is true of everybody. Your intuitive center is located right about here in your brain. Okay. So you have a receiver that works, and once activated tends to stay wide open, except for in childhood. So we come in wide open and ready to receive all this information. And somewhere along the line, there may be a message that's not cool or don't do that. And we close the door, right? So again, some other point of your life, you come to the place where you're like, I want to use all my faculties. I want to know all of me. What makes me tick? How do I know who I am? What do I like? And then this starts to come online again. There's an activation phase. There's actually a really powerful point in our life between 38 and 44. People go through it at different times, depending on your maturity, depending on what's going on in life, and depending on, honestly, the space to consider it. Because sometimes life is, you may not have time to contemplate or the energy or the brain power to do it. That's fine. Every one of us is going to go through this process at some point where there's less logical dependency and more leaning towards the intuitive. As a universe, we are going through that right now. Massive upgrades in frequency, which is very exciting to me because that also means you won't have to work as hard as some of us did when the energy was so dense. So knowing you have this can help you encourage you to access it a little bit more. So instead of jumping to the heady place, maybe you feel something out. Maybe you ask of yourself, well, what would my intuitive self say here? Like, what would be the guidance that I receive from me? You've heard me say, if you've watched previous episodes, you have to get quiet. You have to get quiet. Now, this can be while you're driving the car. Just turn all the radio, turn the streaming off. Don't listen to a podcast. Save this for when you go for a walk. Get quiet, and that part of your brain will light up. It'll be like, oh, they're listening to me. I get to speak now. And you'll bumble through it. And there's so many studies that you can look. I love the combination of energy, science, psychology, and just life experience. There are so many studies that have been written and published about how intuition and developing it and being, yes, in a mindful practice can have you access solutions quicker. There's one called the Think Different, the Merits of Unconscious Thought and Preference. And I am not going to do the author justice. So I'm going to say you can check that out. 2004 it was written. We'll put a link down below. The Merits of Unconscious Thought, Diskerhouse. Diskerhouse. I just don't want to say somebody's name wrong. So, and I even did the pronunciation, looked it up. It still won't roll around my tongue. So to be respectful, I'll put the code in or the link in. But intuitive decisions happen very quickly. You have to be able to grab them. And when you bypass analysis paralysis and you bypass conscious analysis, your brain can integrate vast amount of information at the subconscious level in a very short amount of time. There are times where I'm like, how did I know that? I must have seen a TV show or I must have read. Well, I am a voracious reader and observer of life, witness of life, because I know it goes in that filing cabinet. I don't have to know where I filed it. I just have to know it's in there. And this is a way that you can enhance your own cognitive function and keep those brain cells alive by gamifying it. You get faster at your processing, right? So you could be asking questions of, like someone is asking a question of you in a conversation and you're kicking the ball back and forth. And you could get completely logical and get lost in the weeds, or you could say, I wonder if we considered this. What if 10% of that is okay? And let's talk about the next 10% we can build on, right? What happens in that fast processing when you connect your intuition is most of the stuff that's like fluff or fodder disappears. Here is a disclaimer. Once you really start to build your intuition and trust on it, you don't want to have fluff conversations. There's not a disregard unless your personality, you allow for that, but there is less interest in having fluff conversations because it starts to activate the right hemisphere of your brain. And I really know with all I am, not a scientist, but that we have two different brains going on. Yes, they're all in here and somewhat connected and everything, but we have two brains and we have to, I think, embrace both of them to know when to use one and when to use the other. When you start accessing your intuition even more, what happens is your right brain comes online, and that's the brain of curiosity and empathy and creativity and action. It doesn't get enough credit for being the action oriented hemisphere. The left has its place in logical, but it's like the left is the set in volleyball and the right is the boom, slam it down. Spike it is the word that I was looking for there. So there's a lot of research that suggests that intuitive insights are associated with increased activation of the brain's hemisphere and in pattern recognition, in holistic processing, and creative thinking. Being able to come up with solutions. Look at the educational system right now. We need creative thinkers in there. I think across the board for at least here in the States, we need creative thinkers. So the more people that get in their right brain and in their intuitive brain, the more of this energy we will have present in the world. And the more of us that are going to be coming from empathy, and we'll have that ripple effect of, I don't have to love everything about you, but I can acknowledge you as a conscious being and feel a gratitude for you being part of my experience. So it can get tricky in that if you have biases and you have some flawed judgment, can your brain lead your intuition? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have seen people try to convince themselves that they should date that person, that they should move to this place, or that they should eat that food that they know they have a reaction to because their gut says, no, sir. No, ma'am. No, you are overriding that energy because you have a bias. You want that food for emotional reasons, probably. You don't wanna listen to the warning signs that are there, and you're just going to disregard. You have that choice, you have that ability. But once you start to access your intuitive brain more, what ends up happening is this, like, warning bell system that it won't leave you alone. It will not leave you alone. So even though you try to do that thing, you'll feel this frequency pressure. To me, it's an obligation to myself to be integrous. And if I'm going to choose to have that food for a smaller reference, I'm going to consciously choose it. I'm going to make that decision from my left brain, and I'm going to say to my intuitive, knowing, knowledge, sage soul brain, I am consciously choosing to do this. Therefore, you are off the hook. So intuitive learning and neuroplasticity, oh, they just go together so well. They integrate so well. So once you have the awareness that this is something you have available, and I'm presuming if you're listening to this podcast, you already know that, but just in case, the practices that tend to go along with building your intuition, quieting the mind, meditation, PQ reps, if you're familiar with Shirzad Shamin's work, focusing in, tapping, all of this stuff promotes adaptive responses in our brain, both on the left side and the right side, in that lovely little alley down the middle that I am forgetting, corpus something, the name of it. So when you start to learn more about this, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that your brain becomes more flexible. It actually starts to wire differently. so that you don't have to take as many of the old roads that were not serving you and that were likely leading you into situations because your intuition is often the side that recognizes the patterns. So your left brain will say, nope, nope, stay in those old patterns. I'm scared. I don't want to change. This is not safe for us. I'd rather stay in the old of what I know and not be wandering into this of which I don't know. But when you start to access all this and use it for your decision making process, you will build new neural pathways. This has been backed up by science. So there is the neuroscience of mindfulness meditation. It's a study done by Tang in 2015, and using the intuitive learning process of actually listening to how it is that you learn. When I start working with someone, I will ask them, do you need to read? Do you need to hear me say it 42 times? I'm happy to, but is that what will help? Do you need to write it out? Do we have to get you in a tactile experiment, like journaling by hand, not on a computer? What works there? Okay, so being knowledgeable that intuition is not this airy fairy. Yes, it comes through spirit and but mostly through your own spirit. And then the other participants, your guides, the angels, ascended masters, on up to source in frequency, are add-ons, right? That's where you go to the premium package or something. But every one of us has these abilities already on board. And if you lean too much into them, I have seen that affect people's mental health, to lean too much into the non-physical intuition. We are here as souls in a physical body to integrate our process, but also to learn about it, to get excited about what is the capacity of us to expand, to grow, and to work together, to work collaboratively in, like, what's your skill? What's my skill? And then bring that to the table. So science can be exciting to study and to learn and to understand about the wiring of your physicality and not make it all about the spirit world. Because I've also seen that too, where people will say, well, it's not me doing it. It's the energy that's running through me, the Reiki energy or my guides and stuff. No, you are standing there talking to me, telling me that you're engaging in these modalities. It is you. So there's often been a mode of teaching that says, step out of it, get your ego out of it. I don't want you to. I want your ego in there nice and healthy so it understands, yes, I am part of this. I am not all of it, but I am part of it. And I can contribute with my unique blend from DNA, from lifetimes, and from my ability and willingness. There has to be a willingness to tap into your intuitive skills. Okay, so I would even go as far as to say, if somebody is saying to you, it is not me, it is all the energy field, I'd be cautious about working with them, because once, yeah, it is me, I'm facilitating this. You don't have to get a fat head about it, but you admit that, yeah, I'm in here, I'm helping because this is part of my soul's journey. You will then have a much more grounded practitioner. And that's a way that you can practice making decisions. Is this person in alignment with my frequency, or are they a smidge above my frequency? That's great, because then you can let go and have their energy be setting kind of a template for what's possible for you. So the next time you think about getting your hair done or eating a meal or going for a massage, definitely any kind of energy work, I want you to tap into both sides of your brain. The cognitive side, that, oh, you like what they say, you've had word of mouth referrals, but you also tap into your intuitive self and say, does this feel resonant to me? Does it feel good for me to ingest this food that this person has made? Or does it feel good to me to lie on a table and open up my energy field and allow someone to be in there? Because no matter how clear we are, we're still going to bring our stuff to a session. We're human. We're going to do that. But you want to like mitigate as many issues as possible by tapping into yourself and asking, does this feel like it aligns? One of the best things about trusting and knowing your intuition is you will say no thank you with grace. And you can say no thank you in a way that honors people, but also most especially honors yourself. I have left a few practitioners and had very real conversations with them about, you're not touching me. I can appreciate what you're going through, or this is your new area of interest, but I work really diligently in keeping my frequency clean for myself and so I can help my clients and my loved ones and everything. You're not coming to me with that gook. So I have walked out and done it kindly. And you can, once you know about that the intuitive frequency, but also the respect for self. And if you have a high frequency, when you raise your frequency, you may trip over words too, because once the intuitive brain starts coming online, when you really start to access this, you will forget words. I forgot the word suet yesterday. I was feeding the birds and I'm like, I really had a moment. I had to pause and think, am I having a stroke? Like, is something going on that I need to be really concerned? And I tapped in and I'm like, no, you're just brain, my frequency was woo way up here. Forgot to come back into my body a little bit after a session. Happens. It's okay. I forgot the word suet. I had to go find the box so I could look at it because no way I'd be able to move on to the next thing without knowing that. So once you learn this stuff, you can appreciate the humor in not remembering something like that and not panic about not being able to find your words. One of the ways that you can support your brain is to use the Magic Mind product that I talk about. It's got the nootropics in it they improve cognitive function, memory, creativity, motivation. No, I had not had my Magic Mind before this moment, but I went right to the cabinet and I'm like, you are obviously a little deficient, Vic. Let's go get some and have the antioxidants in there. The blueberry extract, anything with blueberries, I'm on board with. And it helps, the antioxidants help keep the stress, the oxidative stress and inflammation out of your system. And that's been a big thing that I've been working on, my commitment to myself in 24 after Hashimoto's diagnosis. I'm like, all right, we're going after this autoimmune stuff in a kind, compassionate, and smart way. So the vitamins, the Bs that I get from my Magic Mind is why I recommended to all you guys, genuinely from my heart, believe in this product or I would not be talking about it, but also to help bring some calm about, because the calmer our brain is, the more we can connect in with those intuitive abilities. So eat cleaner. Yeah, I know it can feel like a bummer sometimes, but it also can be really good. I've been making my own protein bars lately, and I used Magic Mind as the liquid to hold one together, and it came out so good. So good. So you can head on over to Magic Mind and get your supply, magicmind.com/VickyB20. And then if you put in that code, you'll get 56% off your first subscription, also 20% off a one-time savings. So, it's going to benefit your pocketbook as well as your brain. So magicmind.com/VickyB20. And then when you're ingesting that and when you're agreeing to take a little bit kinder care of your physical body, it's going to raise your frequency, which will raise your intuition. Now, some people can drink tons of caffeine, they can eat junk food, they can smoke, they can drink, and they can access their intuition. I'm still going to say that it's being clouded. They could be at a different level of appreciation and skill if those things weren't, in place. But everybody has free will and you have choice. And maybe you're good with where it is, so you keep eating the chicken nuggets or whatever. It's the only thing that comes to mind right now. It's been so long since I've had fast food, which I'm grateful to myself for. So when you're cultivating your intuition, what you want to do is practice and then practice a little bit more. Tune in to how you're feeling about a situation before you open your mouth. Feel it out. Like last night was supposed to be arms workout night, and we had a really busy weekend of a lot of physical movement. And both of us were like, want to just take the dog for a walk? And I asked Mike, I said, tune in. What would feel better for you? To go down and do some yoga, to go outside. It happened to be a 50-degree day here in February to get a little bit of that movement. We chose to go out, and Willow got to see her best friend at the end of the street, Hudson, because we chose to take our walk at that time. All these things line up, but you have to practice. It's not a matter of flipping a switch and it's just there. And anyone who teaches you that, they're doing a disservice too. Because part of the experience and part of the fun is figuring out something that you didn't know about yourself before. And it can help to get a kind version of your voice on board. That can help every area of your life. Just saying. But when you're developing your intuition consciously, we will do it all our lives, but there are points where you delve in, then you take a break, then you delve in, then you take a break, and that's integration. I had a client say to me the other day, I'm sorry I haven't been back. I've been taking a break. And I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Because integration is as important as the development process. It truly is. There are times I don't read anything that is about energy, raising, intuition, spirituality. You just need to take that break. But the practices that will be, I think, the most effective are the ones that you weave into your day. So while you're brushing your teeth, you're standing there anyway, hopefully for 2 minutes, you're taking deep breaths and you're tuning into the sensation of your toothbrush and the toothpaste, or however you go about your oral care. You're tuning into that for those 2 minutes and you're letting everything else go. That is doing a sit-up for your intuition. When you go grocery shopping, you are going to not scan everything and know the price, but you're going to tap into what the price may be, or when you get gas or something along those lines. Make it part of your everyday experience, because some other teachings have made this too big, and it's not. It's very practical. Your success compass is you, right? Like you are your compass. That's why this is called intuition, your success compass. It's guiding you, but it's a little bit of a trick because you are the compass. And the more that you know your directional signals and that you're tuned into it, you will be able to make these decisions, especially in the most difficult times. The one that comes to mind the most for me is when we had to decide about palliative care for my husband. And of course, we had talked a little bit about it, but when we were in that conversation, the feeling of this is just right. No more procedures, no more giving hope to others, because that's what it would have been. He was very pragmatic about where he was and where he was going. But it would have been giving hope to others that he would be around physically a little bit longer. But I remember having that conversation, and I remember him looking at me, and I just nodded my head because he knew when I do that, it just feels right on every level. still going to hurt, still going to grieve, still going to go through all the human processes. But you have that knowing that just supports you. It's like somebody props you up, right? And what's propping you up is you and your willingness to take into consideration all of the information. Now, one of the ways you can do this is to use your body as a human pendulum. I like this process. I'm going to put just a little bit of a caveat in the front of it, though. You can influence this because you are a big old divining rod and a receiver of energy, a giver of energy. You can influence the human pendulum, but it's still very helpful. So what you do is you stand and you get loosey-goosey knees. Don't have those knees locked. You take a couple very cleansing breaths. If you can stand up and do this with me now, great. If not, come back to it later. I just went into teacher voice there. Guided meditation voice, Vicki. So what you're going to do, I find closing your eyes the first time you do this, first couple times you do this is helpful. Because when you block out all of the stimuli, you're much more in tune with your own vibration. That's true of any exercise, but in this one in particular. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to close those eyes and your hands down by your side, loosey-goosey, not too tense. And you're going to ask, in the name of the light, show me your yes. So if you're watching this on video, I am moving back and forth. Believe me or not, I'm not doing that. And then you say, thank you. And it stops the movement. And then you say, same thing. In the name of the light, show me your no. Okay, and then you say, thank you. It might take a couple of these to really feel any, thank you. Still swinging, any kind of movement because it's new. And what this does is it gives you another tool that you always have with you because you always have your body with you to ask, is this in my highest interest? Is this person handing me a line of hooey? Is it a good idea to, what did I have for lunch yesterday? Eat guacamole and bean chips. It was a very good idea, by the way. Didn't even have to ask the pendulum. When you are doing this, what you're giving yourself is another way to access the non-physical verbalizations, non-physical communications. Verbalization, guys, that's not the word. Communication. Excuse me. So, of course, yes and no, very limited, right? So one of the things that I will often do when I feel like, that did not land as a solid yes or no, is I will ask, do I need more information about this? Which then, if you do, if you get a yes, you go to your logical brain. You go to that left brain and you say, all right, let me do some research. Let me ask some people. Let me let it sit for a day. Maybe I don't need to take care of this in this very moment, right? So, excuse me. So as you do this process, you will begin to tune into yourself more and begin to trust more. Where I say you can influence is you keep asking the question because you want a different answer. Stop it. Stop it. Take the answer that's there and build on it. Don't lead this. You can lead oracle cards, you can lead pendulums, you can lead the outcome, okay? That bias that I spoke of earlier, well, that affects everything that we're using. You're throwing runes, you can influence that. You will learn over time how to be unattached to whatever the answer is. But again, takes practice. My yes and no have never changed over 20-something years. I am always back and forth with, so front to back with my yes and side to side with my no. I still ask every time I use this method. And what's happened over the years is it's changed from something that I physically do to something that I feel inside of me. So if I'm working with a client and I've said something that I see intuitively and they're like, that just doesn't ring true, I will do this to make sure I'm not off track. And I don't say it out loud. You can say it in your head. So if you're in a meeting and you need a little bit of feedback, I would recommend grounding, wiggling those toes, taking a couple deep breaths, and then asking in your head, is this the best course of action or something along those lines? And then get curious. Just figure out what the best course of action could be at this moment. But this is a way to become more mindful, but also more self-aware because again, you your intuition and your decision-making process is going to be different slightly than your partner's. When you practice this ahead of time, just like when I was in that situation with my late husband, it's on board already. And again, it's not going to take away the horrific things that are happening in our world right now, but it can give you a sense of self-surety so that you can make decisions that align for you, then you can make an impact and have an impact in the world because you're coming from a place of security. Okay, so when you develop your skills and your knowing, it turns down fear and uncertainty and even adversity because at some point you realize there's no need to fight any of this. Come at me in a dark alley, I'm totally punching you. But other than that, there's really nothing to be afraid of or uncertain about because each circumstance you have to deal with it in that moment. And the more that you have this on board, you might still be scared in that moment. I'm not saying it takes away fear completely, but it won't go to the level of incapacitation. Okay. And like the brain running away with itself because your left brain will. It is all about survival. Your right brain is about thriving and creativity and understanding that, yes, things happen and like even bad things happen, but we don't have to be taken out by those things. We can have and experience all the emotions and really honor them when you practice discernment and you help your brain. Because again, back to the science, when you're doing this, you will develop stronger neural pathways on your right side, which is your calm, capable. Have you ever met somebody like that? No matter what's going on, they're pretty unflustered. They're like, all right, we got this. We just have to figure this out. That's likely because they've developed their neural pathways because we're all shaking inside about something. But when you tap into this and you begin to understand that sabotaging behavior is not helping me and I do not need the drama, let me go to my soul self and my knowing self. You begin to embrace uncertainty and you're more willing to take a calculated risk. Notice I said calculated. So your left brain did get to play in there, but your right brain and your intuitive sense got to give the go ahead. Remember, right brain is action. So you'll have intuitive nudges, most especially when logic does not back it up. There have been many times in my life where I couldn't back it up logically and I just went for it. I remember I bought a car one time. It was a Chrysler Pacifica. Everybody said, don't buy that. It's a crappy car. It's going to break down on you. Well, I knew that was my car. I knew it. And when I went, and this particular car, I knew was mine. So when I went to buy it and the guy was like, do you want to take it for a test run? I was like, no, don't need to. And then I was like, oh, wait, this was a little while ago, so don't judge me on this. I said, does it have a CD player? And he's like, yes. I said, we're good. We're good. Just needed to know it had that. And the guy's standing there and I'm like, I'm not being flighty. I did my research about the type of vehicle and I knew all this, like I knew the price was good. I did all that. But my gut said that was my car. I freaking love that car. Like when I turned it in for the car that came after it, I was so sad. I was happy for the family it would go to eventually, but I was so sad because I love that thing. So it can help you to take those calculated risks that aren't putting you in danger, but take a little bit of courage. And when you, again, build a track record, and notice none of these examples are these big openings that people talk about or that some influencers will lead you to believe is spirituality, like these big awarenesses or my sit down with Jesus or Archangel Michael came to me. Those things will happen. They will happen if you want them to. They will happen. But intuition is much more mundane. It is much more everyday, bringing as much joy to your life as you possibly can because you are a whole being walking around on this planet, accessing every little bit of the squishiness inside your cranium, but also the squishiness in your heart and the love and the joy that's within you. And the more that we do this, the more we can have conversations in challenging situations so they don't escalate. Imagine how this could help with the communications between countries and between supposed opposing forces when we're all basically the same, walking around with our own sense of disconnection or insecurity until you actually do the work. So I am going to encourage you to do that. Do the work. Trust it. Do it on a daily basis. What kind of food is your body asking you for that day? Is it a day that maybe you do need a little bit more vitamin C? Did you get your water today? Is it time to call that person? Is it time to look at your own pain from the past and find that therapist or that mentor or that coach that can help you do that so you can free up this space to tap into your intuition even more? So there are always going to be difficult times in life, but life does not have to be difficult all the time. Tap into your resources, tap into yourself, and learn to have a little bit of fun and hit that subscribe, that follow. Catch me on Vicki Baird Coaching all across the platforms. Check out the bundles and the 1 hour live that I'm doing. If you purchase the bundle, you get me for an hour on the second Wednesday of the month and discussing whatever the bundle of the month is. And we had a wonderful time in this last one, which was anxiety and learning to release it. And this next one is for March is getting to know me, meaning you getting to know you, not getting to know me. I'd like to get to know you, but the bundle is not all about myself. It's getting to know yourself and all of the beauty that exists there in your unique, sparkly, intuitive self. So I'll see you around. Have any questions? You know where to find me. Take care. See you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to VickiBaird.com. That's VickiBaird.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.